and taxes, and here we are.
Okay.
So, yes, thank you. Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know how you want to answer this question. Because it's the question really of the day. Are we overtaxed?
Sharon.
Yes.
I already know you have an answer to that. You as a taxpayer, Sharon, as a taxpayer, you already have a perception of whether you are overtaxed or not. But where are you driving your perception? I think that is what we need to answer.
Okay.
When we ask ourselves, are we overtaxed? It's a comparison question. Who are we comparing ourselves to? What is the similarity between object A or country A, country B, service A or service B, so that we're able to say we are overtaxed? And the question is, are we comparing ourselves from the past? Probably in the past we have not been overtaxed.
Right.
It has been okay. And now we feel the burden is high. And because the burden is high, we feel something has happened that has actually affected our pockets. And what is this something? It's taxes. So, as taxpayers, and when I say taxpayers, all Kenyan citizens are taxpayers. I am a taxpayer, you are a taxpayer, the government officials are taxpayers, every other Mama Boga is a taxpayer. And I would like to answer and ask ourselves, and this is what everybody is asking, Catherine. When I compare the services that I'm getting from the government versus the taxes that I'm paying, it is not commensurate. It is not directly proportional. So the question is, where is our money going? Where is our taxes going? What are they doing? And that is now the question that comes, and people feel I am not able to directly account for where my taxes are going. And where are you accounting for these taxes? Because you are not the one managing them. It's basically from the services that government is supposed to offer to its citizens, the Kenyans. Look at our hospitals, Sharon, you go to hospitals and people are queuing. Others are dying on the queue. Why? Because of the service that we are getting. We are not saying that we have not had successful stories from our hospitals. Our schools, there are children who are not able to go to schools, especially because of security issues during the rainy seasons, flooding. And that is what the taxes is supposed to address. And that is the work of the government, to ensure that they utilize the taxes that Kenyans pay and deliver to Kenyans. Are we able to hold them accountable? And that is what is sparking debates. That is what is sparking debate among taxpayers. I will use the word taxpayers because we are talking about taxes.
Right.
And we are taxpayers. All of us, we are taxpayers. We ask ourselves again, the housing levy was introduced the other day. Why would the government implement something that would eventually be declared unconstitutional by the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court? Why? And the issue was it lacked the legal mandate. Where they didn't have the legal mandate on how to implement this thing. The framework was lacking. And somehow it was not equally distributed to all Kenyans. And that is the word they used, that it was discriminatory. And when you look at the tax base, the people who are getting taxed, remember we are all taxpayers. And the government should be able to ensure that the taxes are being paid by everyone from the top to the bottom. Remember, it's a bottom-up economy, yeah? To the least one. Everybody is paying their fair share of tax. But the question is, how are we implementing this as well? And the people who are in the formal sector tend to feel like the burden is on them. I'm not saying they are overtaxed. I'm saying they tend to feel like the burden is more on them. Is it that is because it's a sure way of ensuring people pay tax because it has its own structures? It is in employment where there is an agent who is supposed to assess, collect, account for that tax and remit it to the government, and that is the employer. It is very easy to implement taxes within the formal sector as compared to the informal sector. And when you look at the housing levy, that was the issue. The formal sector seems to be the ones affected, and the people outside the formal sector, it's like they were left out. Was it an issue of this? It's easy to collect this tax within the formal sector because there is someone who is able to collect, deduct, assess, and also be able to remit that tax to the government. It is very straightforward. And when you look at the tax base, we keep on saying that Kenyans who are paying taxes are below 50%. So we ask ourselves, where is the rest of the percentage? Why are they not paying taxes?
And why? I want to ask you that question. Why?
It's a question
what are
of
the possible
have
reasons?
we implemented our tax collection measures to ensure that everybody is in the bracket? That is not our work as taxpayers. That is not our work. It is the work of the government to ensure that everybody is able to pay taxes by simplifying the process of paying taxes. But I think getting those structures to work for everybody is where the challenge is. That is where the challenge is. If we widened our tax base and everybody is brought into the tax bracket, Sharon, we do not have to pay any more tax. I believe we'll have enough to run the country if everybody was taxed.
Okay.
Everybody was taxed. If that number that we are saying is below 50% was to be upgraded to probably 70%, 80%, 90%, at the current tax rates, Sharon, we will be able to manage our country. Because look at it this way. When you look at the tax to GDP ratio of our country, in the last fiscal year, it was around 14.8%. And the government is working hard because they are targeting at least 22.5%. The revenues collected in form of taxes.
Please break it down. What do
Yes.
you mean? When you say the GDP and
Yes.
14% to 22%, what's the meaning of that?
What is the meaning of that? We are meaning that the revenue that is collected from our taxes
Yes.
as compared to our GDP, how are we performing in terms of collections? We are at 14. Compare at the other, probably East Africa countries, Uganda, Tanzania, they are at around, Uganda is around 13%, Tanzania is at around 12%. When you look at the VAT of Uganda and Tanzania, it is around 18%. So Kenya is 16%. So they are paying more in terms of VAT as compared to Kenya. But the question is, where their GDP, their tax to GDP ratio is low, meaning they are collecting low, yet they are taxing more. And you will ask yourself why. And that will answer the question to you, Sharon. That is not the tax rate that matters. Look at that, 18%, but they are below our tax to GDP ratio. It is not the tax rate that matters. It is the accountability of the tax that we are paying. We could be collecting more revenues, but look at corruption in our country. There are loopholes where probably that tax that is being collected is not part of the whole tax that we are counting. And those are the things that I feel when they are addressed, then Kenyans will not even ask the question whether we are overtaxed or we are undertaxed.
All right.
Because they are able to see the results in the services they are receiving. Look at the immigration department. People have been complaining of late. You go there, you need a passport. You are told we cannot offer you the 34 page. Can you upgrade to 50 page? You go again, you are told go back. We are not able to print these ones. We had an issue of a machine breakdown for quite a long time. Sharon, you are paying taxes. You need to travel to make more money to pay more taxes. You are not able to get your passport. Why? Those are the issues that Kenyans now sit back and reflect and feel, no, something is not adding up. I think I am overtaxed.
Right.
Yes.
When wow, pretty much well stated, Catherine. When you talk about 14% and the government you say the government is targeting to get to
5%
to get to 22
in the next 3 years. Yes.
in the next 3 years.
So meaning they are going to collect more. They are looking for measures to collect more. And when you look at these measures, they have already started. Housing levy is there. We have the VAT, now we have the auto-populated things that yesterday everybody was filing VAT yesterday. There were so many issues, confusion, because the issue of auto-populated return was an issue. These are taxpayers who want to pay tax.
Tell me a bit about that.
The process of paying that tax was not easy. If you may remember, Sharon, government came up with the e-TINs and the TINs. That is another way of collecting, taxes. A process of collecting the VAT tax. Okay. Remember, we have the VAT tax and we have the income tax. When people are being taxed through the payroll, that is income tax. And when people are now being taxed through the goods and services that they procure, that is the value-added tax at the 16%. The income tax is up to 30%. Of course, now, if you're earning more than 500, it's at 32.5, and over 800, it's at 35%. That one is from the Finance Act of 2023. So, yes, the higher you earn, the more you'll pay our taxes in Kenya. But there are countries who are paying more taxes than that. But the issue of accountability again, Sharon, in those countries, people come and say, oh, in this country, the medical facilities are top-notch. They are free. There are people, there are countries where public schools are the schools, not private schools. Private schools are struggling because the public schools are the schools. And those are the things that will translate commensurately to the taxes that we are paying. And when those things, when the government can be able to work on that, I think Kenyans will be happy. Taxpayers in Kenya will be happy. When they are able to efficiently get the government services, we will be happy because we'll be able to know our taxes have been collected and they have been utilized well. Let me go back to the issue of VAT that you had asked. When first the government introduced the teams and then the e-teams ways of collecting VAT revenue, what this meant was, now, in the past, you used to charge VAT in your invoice, and you are charged VAT when you procure goods.
Right.
And at the end of the day, you are able to tell KRA, I charged, this is how much I sold, and this is the VAT that I collected, and this is how much I have purchased, and this is the VAT that I also paid during my purchases, and this is the VAT that is remaining, you remit it. And it was a self-assessment return. Now KRA is now trying to now do the self-assessment for us by saying, now using the devices, e-teams, and the teams, they are gadgets that, you have been able to see the receipts that they call the VAT receipt,
Yes.
the e-teams receipts. And when you have that receipt, you transmit your data real time to KRA. So KRA is able to know Catherine has been able to deliver a service of tax consultancy to Sharon. And she has charged Sharon 16%. If it was 1,000, then 16% of that. And I remit that to KRA. And when I procure goods, the same way, my supplier transmits the same data to KRA. And at the end of the month, KRA is the one who is going to now give you a return that has already been auto-populated with what you have been able to do in the month.
Okay.
Now, the issue is, that's okay, that has been remitted and all that, but the implementation of the same is what we have an issue with. Now, as late as yesterday, people had issues trying to say, now, I can see from the auto-populated return that you have given me that cells that do not belong to me.
Oh, wow.
That's a system failure on KRA's side. And KRA is saying you cannot amend those cells. Now, it beats the logic of a self-assessment return, where the Act has said self-assessment return should be remitted by 20th of the month. Now Kenyans are asking, why should I remit a return that I am not the person who has self-assessed myself? Someone else has self-assessed me, and I am not in agreement with what they are saying.
Right.
Yet I don't have the chance to amend the details.
Oh.
Now,
Okay.
those are the issues that are revolving around the VAT issues.
I actually saw some information this morning on the papers where the Kenya Medical Association was saying that, you know what, they're going to down their tools because of this particular VAT story.
Yes, and you saw from
e-teams, yeah.
yes, you saw from the medics side, theirs is more of the data protection issue, because they're saying in their profession they are not supposed to disclose clients or patients' information.
Right.
But from the e-teams, they feel that this information is going to be tampered with, and it's against their profession.
Okay.
So when we are saying about, again, implementation of the processes, Sharon, is what we are talking about. That these processes have not been implemented to a level that taxpayers feel safe to pay taxes. Okay. I don't think taxpayers have an issue paying taxes. It is the way we implement the way of collecting taxes. It is the way we implement how that tax is going to be remitted to KRA. And even there, it's like we feel like we are being forced to pay this tax. we are being forced. Like for VAT, somehow you feel like you're being forced. And KRA will tell you, just file, then we can look at the matter later. But why should I file a liability that is not mine and do not even have the funds to pay? It becomes an issue.
Right.
And therefore, the issue here is accountability of our taxes. If that one can be sorted, Sharon, we will be happy and probably will not be asking ourselves this question: are we overtaxed?
Wow.
Are we overtaxed?
What an answer. What an answer to the question, because I feel like now we're moving away from it. The question is not really are we overtaxed, but after the taxes have come in or have gone out, that what exactly is happening or how are they being utilized?
There's no accountability, because that accountability and that utilization we're able to see in the service delivery that is being offered to Kenyans.
Okay. I hear you. Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
Loud and clear.
So when those services are improved to a level that we feel now, we are able to now efficiently access government services, then we'll be able to say, can we even pay more? Look at the housing levy issue. It's a levy. That amount that you are going to pay through your payroll, 1.5%, is not going to guarantee your house. Yes, the fact that you have already joined in the contribution, you are able to now get into the scheme of Boma Yangu and now place your applications to own a home.
Okay.
But that is a levy. And the levy is meant to help the government now be able to implement the whole issue of affordable housing.
Right.
The question is, even before we come, the act has just been signed the other day. Before, it was not clear how this is going to be done. Accountability. You want my money? You want me to contribute to this? But how are you going to utilize my money? What are the benefits that we are going to see? I may not be able to see the benefits myself, probably because I'm old. But maybe in the future, can my children be able to access these benefits?
Yeah.
That process is not well laid down, and that is what Kenyans are having questions. I have a mortgage, and you are telling me to contribute 1.5 levy.
Yeah.
That is way too high, because I already have a mortgage that is helping me acquire my own house. And they are asking, what is going to happen to this mortgage? What are you going to do? Of course, the government is saying that you are able to bring your mortgage to us, and we are going to offer you a mortgage at a rate that is below 10%, a single-digit mortgage at interest rates. But again, that is what we have been told. We need to read it on paper. We need to be able to know how to access these mortgages. Again, the number of people who are undertaken mortgages, it is less than 2%.
Right.
So meaning people are also not going to mortgages because of the high interest rates. And these are the things that are making Kenyans feel overtaxed. Now, this debate just started the other day, Sharon. Why? Because we have the NHIF rates that are coming up. They are getting increased. We have the NSSF Act.
Yeah.
We have the Housing Levy. And just the Finance Act also revised the tax brackets. And all this is coming concurrently.
All at once.
So everybody feels confused, because why everything is and it's not coming at 1%, 2%. We are talking of 6%.
Yeah.
You know, we used to contribute 200 bob to NSSF. Now we are at 2,160.
Yeah.
Sharon, and that one is money that has been gone. Now, when you talk to our parents, I'm not retired. I may not be able to answer you the service and the process of getting your money from the NSSF. But I have seen my parents, I have seen my uncles, we have served clients, and they attest that the process is tedious, tiresome, sometimes it's not open. And that's why people now are opting out. If you look at the number of applications to RBA for people to opt out, tier 2 contribution of NSSF to a pension scheme, even they have actually stopped looking at them at the moment, because now they used to do them very fast. Nowadays, that pace has gone down. And you ask yourself, why are people opting out? It's because they understand this is a lot of money going into the NSSF. We already understand the current state of getting our money from NSSF, and we would rather channel this other amount into pension scheme, which are more accountable.
Right.
They have some service delivery. They have some customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
And that is what we are talking about. Service delivery, accountability. If we are able to compare our taxes to our service delivery and accountability, then we would say we are not overtaxed. We would say we are okay with our country, because there are countries that are being taxed highly. Now look at from the budget proposals that are coming. There is a proposal to also reduce our corporate tax to 25%. That's a proposal. I'm not saying it's coming. It may go through, it may not go through. Probably through the public participation, it also not make it into the budget statement. But at 25,
that is to reduce it to 25
from 30%
30.
to 25%.
All right.
But now that is on the corporate, on profits. That is on corporates, not on individuals. Now, when you look at the corporates, it's a good thing. Probably attract investors into Kenya. And probably what we are likely to go is, when these investors come, then probably there will be job creation. And that is what the government is trying to do. Again, the tax base, where we started, Sharon, the tax base. Can we increase our tax base so that we bring so many people into the tax bracket? Now, when you look again at the housing levy, we are now focusing at the informal sector. How are we going to tax the informal sector in the first place? Becomes difficult. That question has not been answered, because what we have seen is we are going to come up with measures to reach the informal sector. But this measure should have come all at once. Before because the people who are in employment, theirs is coming end of this month.
And they actually do not make for a very big percentage of the Kenyans, right?
The Kenyans.
Yeah.
And it's coming end of this month. They are starting to contribute. What about the informal sector? What is the plan to get into the informal sector? The informal sector, again, we are saying our unemployment rate is quite high.
Right.
Tax base. So meaning, where do you expect these people unemployed to pay taxes from? So we keep focusing again on the people, the very people who pay taxes. The very people who pay taxes are the very people that we keep on focusing on. Can we shift the focus to see how can we create jobs, so that from these jobs people are able to get into the tax bracket, and we widen our tax bracket so that the revenues can also go up without really affecting the tax rates. Now, again, instead of focusing on the people who pay tax, what measures can we do as a government to ensure that we reach all these people, and at the same time reduce the loopholes where money is getting lost through corruption? Money is getting lost. Every other time we have a case, there is a scandal, Money is getting lost. Those are taxpayers' money that is getting lost, that would have otherwise gone into projects.
Right.
That is the big problem that we have as Kenyans.
And you brought the issue of accountability, and it comes at a time where, very unfortunately, again, it was out on the news that a section of the MPs actually confessed to having not fully read before ascending to. I thought to myself, oh my. These are the people that we have entrusted with the responsibility to actually take it up with whoever is necessary, and hold them accountable. But then they're saying they haven't read the document.
Yes, Sharon, those are the people that we have entrusted. And when we go to vote, that is when we raise our voices, Kenyans, because we vote people who are going to represent us in the parliament.
Yeah.
And those are the people that are saying they have not been able to read. Why? They are focusing on the collection, not how this is going to be implemented, not how this is going to derive benefits back to the Kenyans. And when you look at it, ask yourself a very simple question, Sharon. Why did we have to implement a housing levy for it to be declared unconstitutional for lack of a legal framework? So that now we rush back to go and draft one within a very short time, so that now we abide by the issues that were noted by the court. That is the issue. Why did we do that in the first place? Within that time, Kenyans paid housing levy for several months.
Yeah.
I think it's only January and February that people didn't contribute.
It should be.
What will happen to those contributions that we have already made? And according to them, to the government, we have contributed 28.5 billion those few months.
28 billion.
They have received that in form of the housing levy that has been contributing that short time before it was declared unconstitutional.
Right.
And their target is to get to 62 billion before end of the year. So that is the question that we have, Sharon. Now, when you feel you have been taxed, you have been taxed and your money is not getting into use, accountability is where we are at. Now, when you talk about the housing levy, the question again is, there are people who have already, those houses have already been constructed, and there are people who have actually applied, and they're in the system to already own a home. Now, the people who have been contributing, who should be able to be given the first priority because they are in the contribution of the levy, how many are in that bracket of the people that have owned the homes? Can we trace them in that list?
Just hold that thought right there. Let's take a very quick business break. We'll be back in a few. Don't go away. This is Hope FM. Listen and live.
Hope FM, another quality service from Christ, is the answer ministry.
The Business Line. It's just business.
Good morning. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has assured coffee farmers of a solution to financial challenges facing them, including possible waiver of their debts. The Deputy President said the government will not relent. $5 billion shillings in net profit for the full year ending. Increased transactions across the network, adoption of the digital banking and alternative channels, entry into other markets and trade finance business. Net interest income increased by 23.9%, withstanding the high cost of funds in the market. That's the business update. Good morning.
that affect you and I as Kenyans and people that actually pay tax in this great nation of ours. On the Corporate Hub today, I have Catherine Ndolo, a tax consultant, and we are asking ourselves that very big question. I don't know if the answer in your head has changed, because I felt you shouting at the beginning and giving a resounding yes to the fact that we are taxed quite on the highest side. I don't know if the conviction in your heart and the state of your mind has changed. But anyway, we'll be getting to that in a few moments as we wrap it up. But before we wrap it up, let me just one more time tell you about Amco Limited. They have this great initiative in Thigio, Kikuyu. That is going for 1.7, and it's a property, a piece of property. It's a gem. It is right in the middle of the great landscape of the Kikuyu, and they are actually inviting you to, invest in it. This is a gated community. It's touching the main tarmac. Yes. That is just 10 minutes drive from the Southern Bypass, and it is providing seamless access to all essential amenities, and also water and electricity are on site. Being a gated community, residents of this project will enjoy privacy and a sense of security. And for your financing, Amco Properties accepts bank and SACCO financing, and they allow you to spread your cost of investment over convenient installments. So what you do is call them on the number 0701 293199, 0701 293199. That is for all questions you might be having, or visit their website amcopropertiesltd.co.ke. Amco Properties wanasema wanaaminika, toa aminika. Okay, back straight into our conversation. And Catherine, I'm noticing that the trend is that many of us are saying, "Oh, okay," like it's sounding more of like an enlightening session, for us to actually discover, so that is not the way we need to think about it, but yet we need to change our thinking.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Sharon. One of the issues again is as taxpayers as well, do we fully understand the tax structure? Do we understand the taxes that affect us? When you set to start a business, do we understand the taxes that you are obliged to? What are your obligations in form of taxes when you start a business? At what point do you start charging VAT and remitting? At what point do you start paying your income tax? And which tax is more suitable for you? In the housing levy, they have reduced turnover tax. So if your revenues is between 1 million to 25 million, you can opt to go to turnover tax. Remember, corporate tax is 30% currently. Turnover tax was 3% of your turnover, but you do not allow any expenses. And once you pay that, you are done. Now, that one, there is that proposal to change it to 1% from the housing levy. They have made that change, that turnover tax will now be reduced from 3% to 1.5%. Now, I think that's a good one. Because initially it used to be even 1%, it was moved to 1.5. So that if the informal sectors again get into the bracket of the housing levy, they still maintain their 3%, but it has been spread to housing levy and the corporate tax in form of turnover tax. So once Kenyans, we can be enlightened and just get time. Information now is everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere, YouTube, you're able to learn very simplified information. Just get to know, as a Kenyan, I have started a business. What taxes applicable to me? Because that is now tax planning. When you get information is power, Sharon. You will be able to know how to now start planning for your taxes so that you are compliant. Because at the end of the day, the taxes have been implemented through a law. The Income Tax Act, the VAT Act, those acts, the customs, and those acts are already in place. There is nothing much we can do to say, now I am not paying tax. You will have to pay tax. But get to know what taxes really affect you as a taxpayer in your area of operation. If you're in employment, if you're in self-employment, if you started a certain company in a certain industry, and tax plan around that. But more so again as taxpayers, let's hold accountable our government. The people who have a voice, let's voice out that the government can be able to deliver services that are good, services that are commensurate to the taxes that we are paying to Kenyans. And that way, Kenyans will be happy to pay taxes. Because at the end of the day, we understand we are sovereign states. We have to operate as a government. And one way of raising revenues for our government is through taxes. But again, when we do, we are not paying taxes for other people to benefit. We are paying taxes so that they can be translated to services that will serve us as a country, for us and for generations to come. And can we be that voice wherever we are?
Wow.
Government, all we are asking as taxpayers is, can we get services that are commensurate to our, and now get to know information. Not just tax, but there is a process, a legal framework, why you are taxing us, so that people understand. Have you ever met someone, Sharon, who feels that you are really not treating them right until you sit down and explain to them
where you're coming from?
Where you are coming from.
Yeah.
And then they will understand and say, oh, yeah, I didn't know. Yeah. Now I know. Right. And probably will start a conversation. But instead of this, can we do this? But that conversation in terms of taxes will come during public participation. Because before these acts are passed into law, there is a public participation that has to take place.
Right.
It's a provision in the Constitution. And that public participation is now where people come and air their views and say, no, we are not in agreement with this because of 1, 2, 3. We will be happy if we can do it this way. So that there is a common ground through the professional firms. The LSK have a voice, the ISPAC have a point. Even the people in the counties, you will realize there are halls that are organized where people can come and participate.
Right.
If we are able to get those participation and also get involved to work together, then I think we'll be able to have a great Kenya, a great nation. And that will be my final comments. Wow. As I check any questions, if you have any.
Wow. Yeah, I think today we don't even have questions.
You are listening in.
We are right here nodding our heads and saying, oh, you mean that's what. So now this is what we are going to do. You know, whoever, like you said, whoever is, responsible for, voicing this and putting our leaders in, bringing them to accountability, then they have to take action.
No, the housing levy is coming. Those houses, we want to see good houses constructed as per the architecture, the structural engineers. They meet the standards. They are houses that will last for years. Not just doing them very fast. Those people are going to be given those jobs to do. They are also taxpayers. They are also Kenyan in their own professional fields in construction. Now, those people, again, when you are coming to construct, do not look at the money. Do not look at the contract.
Please.
Look at delivering service to Kenyans.
Thank you.
Build good houses.
Thank you.
So that these houses, when we live in them, people can say, I am happy that I contributed this.
Thank you,
so
Catherine.
Can we all be collectively responsible?
Right. Let's take responsibility and steer this great country of ours to the next level. It is possible when you and I do the right thing. Wow, what a great conversation. Thank you so much, Catherine Ndolo, CPA and a tax consultant, helping us with that conversation. Our time is really gone, pretty much well spent. Remember to share this link. Let us